So today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and maybe one of the most misunderstood prophecies in Islamic tradition, the story of Yajuj and Majuj. You've probably heard the names Gog and Magog, but the actual story, well, the sheer scale of it and what it means for humanity is truly something else. And to really wrap our heads around this, we have to start with a number that is, honestly, it's shocking. There's a narration from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that on the day of judgment, Allah will say to Prophet Adam, peace be upon him, from every 1,000 of your descendants, take 999 for the fire. Just think about that ratio for a second. It's almost impossible to process.
You can imagine when the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, first heard this, they were just floored, shaken to their core. But he immediately gave them this crucial piece of context. He told them, rejoice, because for every one person from you, there will be 1,000 from Yajuj and Majuj. And right there, that's our first real clue about their unbelievable numbers. We're talking about a population that has to be in the trillions.
And that, of course, leads us to the big, mind-bending question that has puzzled scholars and thinkers for centuries. It's the whole mystery we're unpacking today. If there are trillions of them, where in the world are they hiding right now? Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the prophecy itself, then separate the myths from what the authentic sources actually say. We'll look at the incredible wall built to keep them contained, explore theories on its location, talk about their final emergence, and then focus on two little words that change everything.
Right. So before we can even begin to talk about where they are, we have to get a really clear picture of who they are. Because let's be honest, the internet has turned them into everything from giants with massive ears to aliens. It's time to cut through all that noise and see what the sources actually describe.
And just look at this contrast here. On the left, you've got all the wild internet theories. Giants, aliens, some people even say they represent modern countries. None of that has any basis. But then you look to the right at the authentic prophetic descriptions, and it's a very specific, very human list. Broad faces, small eyes, reddish hair, and faces that are described as being flat, like hammered shields.
And this right here is probably the most important thing to get straight. They are not monsters. They're not demons or some supernatural creature. They are human beings, descendants of Prophet Nuh, peace be upon him, from his son Japheth. They're basically a lost branch of our own human family, just one that was sealed off from the rest of the world a long, long time ago. So if they're human, how in the world were they sealed away from the rest of us? Well, that question leads us right into the Quran, to the story of a great, righteous king named Dhul-Qarnayn, and the absolutely amazing feat of engineering he pulled off.
The story, which you'll find in Surah Kahf, is just incredible. Dhul-Qarnayn travels to a land where the people are being completely terrorized by Yajuj and Majuj. They beg him to build a wall, even offering to pay him, but he refuses the money and just says, "Help me with your labor." So together, they fill this huge gap between two mountains with blocks of iron. Then they heated it all up and poured molten copper over the top, creating this seamless, impenetrable barrier they could never climb over or dig through.
But here's the part that really shows you who Dhul-Qarnayn was. After building this incredible wonder, he doesn't take any of the credit. He immediately says, "This is a mercy from my Lord." And he actually prophesies that the wall itself is temporary, that it will stand only until Allah decides it's time for it to come down.
And of course, that brings us right back to the question that's probably on your mind. If this massive wall of iron and copper actually exists somewhere on Earth, where is it? People have been searching and theorizing for literally over 1,000 years.
So let's just quickly run through the top theories that have popped up. Some have pointed to the Caucasus Mountains, specifically a pass called the Darial Gorge. Others suggest the historic Derbent Wall in what is now Dagestan, Russia. And because of their physical description, many theories point east towards Central Asia, with some even looking at the Zonjarian Gate or even parts of the Great Wall of China.
But here's the thing. All of these theories, they kind of hit a brick wall, literally and figuratively. From a theological perspective, the location of the wall is considered part of the ghaib, the unseen. It's something that Allah has intentionally hidden from us. The belief is that no satellite, no sonar, no deep earth scan is ever going to find it. It will only be revealed when its time has come. So, if we can't find where they are, the real question becomes, when will they appear? Their release is one of the major signs at the end of days, and the prophecies are very specific about where it fits in the final timeline of events.
And this sequence is non-negotiable. It's so important. You'll hear some modern theories that claim Yajuj and Majuj are already among us, but that's just not what the prophetic timeline says. Their release is set to happen after the coming of the Dajjal, the Antichrist, and after the return of Prophet Isa, Jesus, peace be upon him, who will defeat the Dajjal. Since those huge events haven't happened, we know their time isn't here yet. So what have they been up to all this time, behind that wall? Well, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave us this incredible image. He told us that every single day they dig. They dig and dig and dig at that barrier until they can almost see the sunlight shining through. They're right on the verge of breaking out. But then their leader says, "All right, go back. We'll finish it tomorrow." And every single night by Allah's will, the wall becomes as strong as it ever was. It's a cycle of almost success and total failure, day after day for centuries. And this goes on for centuries, until one day something changes, one tiny thing. Their leader says the same words he always says, "Go back, we'll finish tomorrow." But this time, he adds a phrase, "Inshallah," if Allah wills. And that's it. That's the key. Because they finally connected their effort to the will of God. They come back the next day, and the hole is still there. The wall is finally breached. The difference between endless failure and breakthrough was just those two words.
And once they are finally released, their numbers are just beyond comprehension. To give you a sense of the scale, the prophecy says that the first wave of their horde will pass by the Sea of Galilee, and they will drink every last drop of water. The entire sea, gone. And when the very last of their group passes by that same spot, they'll just look at the dry bed and say, "There used to be water here."
So, this sets the stage for the final showdown. You have this unstoppable, earth-devouring force unleashed upon the world. No human army could possibly stand a chance against them. So, how do they get stopped? The answer, just like the reason for their release, is something completely beyond human power.
At this moment, Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, gets a direct command from Allah. "Take my servants and find refuge on Mount Tur, because I am about to release a creation of mine that no one has the power to fight." Humanity is completely powerless. The only weapon they have left is prayer.
And what happens next is just mind-blowing. The divine intervention isn't a lightning storm or an earthquake. Allah sends one of his smallest creations, tiny little worms called naghaf, that infect Yajuj and Majuj in their necks. And in a single instant, the entire horde of trillions, they all die, at the same time like a single person dropping dead. The biggest, most terrifying force the world has ever seen is taken down by one of the weakest creatures imaginable. And what follows is this period of cleansing and unbelievable blessing. Giant birds come and carry all the bodies away. A special rain is sent to wash the whole earth clean. And then the land becomes so unbelievably fertile and blessed that it's said a single pomegranate will be enough to feed a whole group of people. There will be so much peace and prosperity that the believers will use the weapons left behind by the horde as fuel for a full 7 years. So it all comes back to this, doesn't it? The key that finally unlocked a barrier that held for centuries wasn't more digging or more force. It was 2 words, a simple submission to a higher power, inshallah. It shows that the ultimate success or failure in anything, for them and for us, rests in God's will. And that leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about. How seriously do we take those 2 words in our own lives?